I'm hot off the stage in Milwaukee.
I love New Hampshire.
The real work for being elected President of the United States happens right here in Iowa.
We have to fix the culture in Washington, D.C.
The size of government is much too large.
We started off with 17, and one by one, they're disappearing.
We have 4.1 million federal employees. That's ridiculous.
It's a beautiful thing to watch as they go out.
That was the GOP candidates out on the campaign trail today, just hours after the lights went down in the theater that hosted last night's huge Fox Business debate. And many of the candidates in the GOP field trying to evoke the gold standard of conservatism, President Ronald Reagan. So did any of the candidates show any Reagan-esque qualities? Former speechwriter for President Ronald Reagan, author of the new book, The Time of Our Lives, Peggy Noonan, goes on the record. Nice to see you, Peggy.
Very good to see you. Thank you.
Okay, Peggy, I'm not going to ask you who you're going to vote for or anything like that. I'm thinking, like, you wrote the most eloquent speeches for President Reagan. Something, who of the candidates would be the most fun for you to write about? Or write for, rather?
I love writing about all of them.
But I mean the speeches for it. I misspoke.
Listen, I think all of these candidates have little pieces of Reagan, and we'll see at the end if somebody puts a few pieces together. Chris Christie has Reagan's joy of politics. Reagan really liked going out there and persuading you and grabbing you and saying, see it this way. Ted Cruz has a certain ability to logically apply a case. Marco Rubio has real political talent. So there's all little pieces there. I think Reagan would be kind of flattered at how much he is evoked so many years after he left the presidency.
Well, he was evoked last night by Senator Ted Cruz. We have a little soundbite because his name did come up.
If you look at the history of America, there are three levers that government has had to facilitate economic growth. The first is tax reform, and as you noted, I have rolled out a bold and simple flat tax, 10% for every American that would produce booming growth and 4.9 million new jobs within a decade. The second element is regulatory reform, pulling back the armies of regulators that have descended like locusts on small businesses. And the third element is sound money. Every time we pursued all three of those, whether in the 1920s with Calvin Coolidge or the 1960s with JFK or the 1980s with Ronald Reagan, the result has been incredible economic growth.
How are you able to capture the president? I mean, President Reagan, I mean, you had to get the words right, but you also had to capture capture him in the delivery. How did you do that?
We knew him so well. That was very lucky. Not all presidential speechwriters get to know the exact philosophy, point of view, thinking, reading habits of the president they work for. With Reagan, we did. We had all followed him intellectually for years. By the time I was working for him, I just felt, I know this guy, and so I can anticipate him. When I get him wrong, he will edit it, change it, and send it back to me, perhaps with a pointed note. But when I got him right, I felt it was just right, and it was based on the fact that we all knew him.
When you listen to these candidates, can you tell if they have multiple speechwriters? Are you able to? Do you have that much of an ear to know that are they inconsistent with their prior speeches? I mean, is there a common thread?
That's a very interesting question. They're not really in the speech part of their campaigns right now. They're in the stand up and extemporize. In time, they'll be in the speech part. Sometimes I imagine with President Obama, who's in the speech part, that I can hear different people doing different things.
And I suppose that some people just have a way to speak, just have a way to deliver the word.
Yeah, Reagan was like that. Reagan had a rhythm. You know, Reagan literally moved his body in certain ways and had a rounded, beautiful kind of ambling speech. And if you could absorb that, it was certainly helpful in working with him and trying to help him out.
Did he practice?
Oh, yeah, like mad.
Oh, he did?
Oh, my goodness, he did. If it was an unimportant speech, he had already read it and okayed it, but right before he gave it, he read it again. If it was an important speech, he was down there in the rehearsal room doing it again and again.
All right, well, the new book is called The Time of Our Lives. It's a collection of your essays. And I should say that on the back of the book, which I mentioned when you sat down, what I love the most is that Tim Russert once said about you, the only predictable thing about Noonan's column is its unpredictability. And I told you that one of the things I loved most was a paragraph where it says, our elites are lucky people. They were born in a suburb, went to Yale, and run the world from a desk. which means this great question, immigration, is going to be decided by people who don't know what it is to sleep on a bench, who don't know what it is to earn your space, your place, who don't know what it is to grieve the old country and embrace the new country, who don't know what it is to feel you're a little on the outside and have to earn your way into the inside, who think it was without cost because it was without cost for them. Immigration's going to be a big issue.
Oh, it sure is. It's not going away, and there are some people on the ground in America who are thinking thoughts about the detachment of the debate from their real lives and maybe trying to connect the two.
Anyway, Peggy, it's always nice to see you. Great new book. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Greta.
And